Hey, Armin here. Welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show, where we cover training, nutrition, supplementation strategies, and a whole lot more. So stand by. Hey, and welcome to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
And I'm Frank Mills, and today we have another great show for you. Today, Armin and I will be talking about how you should train if you have joint pain or tendonitis, and how does nutrition and supplementation affect joint pain. So, a lot of good information to get into. And Armin, a lot of people do have joint pain and tendonitis, and it's tough to train when you're going through that stuff. So, I really think this is a great topic for us to cover today. Everyone runs into this issue at some point, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had to deal with it with clients, over and over, just because they don't know what to do and they just can't get the right kind of guidance or information to
hmm
correct it. Unfortunately, the medical community is not much help on this, from what I've seen. So that's the biggest issue.
Well, you're going to help some people out. So maybe you could give them some key things to keep in mind when they're doing some weight training with joint pain or tendonitis.
Yeah. So what's going on is when you have that joint pain, and you have inflammation. All right. So the area is inflamed, and so we need to get the inflammation down. It's kind of a no-brainer there. And so what you need to understand is if you use too heavy a weight, that will cause swelling because engorging the muscle with blood, and it's going to affect the joint. So too heavy a weight, if it causes the swelling to come up, it's going to cause more inflammation. So you have to back off the weight. So what happens if you use lighter weight with more controlled tempo? You're going to get the blood flow in the area, which helps the healing. And that's what you need to do. You need to get it to heal, but don't overdo it with doing too much volume. Because
Right,
again,
right.
you don't want the area to swell anymore, but you want to work the area so that you get the healing process going. Now, with that being said, most likely you're going to need to modify the exercise, the movement part, or find a different exercise that's not going to affect the area so directly. And
hmm
that just means working with the right coach on that can understand that. And so that's what I have to help people with a lot.
Well, obviously, reducing the weight is going to help, and going higher reps is going to help, even modifying the movement, like you said. But, you know, all of that makes sense. But what about tempo? Because we've talked about that in the past.
So that's the thing with tempo. When you have a slower tempo, which is preferred for this, is you eliminate the biggest problem, which is momentum. When you're lowering a weight, if you lower it fast and then push it up, you got momentum coming up and down. The same thing with pushing, etc. So
Right.
when you have a more controlled tempo, where you control the weight all the way down, you control the weight all the way up, you're going to eliminate that force of the momentum. So
hmm
one of the things that I like to recommend for people, especially with a serious injury that's really hurting them, or they're really having problems with, is do what I call super slow training, or 10-second or 10 count up, 10 count down type of cadence. So
Okay.
super slow is just moving the weight very controlled for a 10 count. So if you're going to lower the weight, you're going to lower it for 10 counts. So it'd be like 1001, 1002, 1003, etc. And then when you get to the bottom of the position, you pause, and then you do a 10 count going up. So 1001, 1002, 1003. So that type of training is not about using repetitions. It's about using a timer. And
hmm
so your minimum time under tension to get the rehab part to work with lightweight using this is 30 seconds. So as you get stronger, which happens pretty quickly, then once you get to like a minute 15, a minute and a half, then the good news is you get to add more weight and keep pushing yourself to get things back, get the strength back, especially in the joint area.
Interesting. Okay, so I know that having the tempo correct is important, but how many reps do you recommend using lighter weight for the less inflammation?
So if it's something that you have to use really light weight with, just because of how much it hurts,
Hmm.
then you can also not necessarily do the slower tempo. You could do higher repetition schemes, and so you still want to control the weight up and down.
Right.
But what I've done this before, so I had to rehab a pulled hamstring. So in that case, I've got a lot of scar tissue in there, and the area hurts. And so I had to start with, basically 20 pounds, but I worked up to like 50 reps. And so
Okay.
when you use light weight and do that many reps, you're going to get blood flow to the area, but it's not going to overwhelm it. So it starts to swell back up, and it was very effective. I mean, it was a matter of weeks before I was moving up to
Hmm.
the 50 pounds and then the 70. And then next thing I know, I'm right back to where I wanted to be, or I could use heavier weight and then, less reps to really push myself. I
Okay.
mean, you're also going to be surprised that if you do this, you won't lose your strength. You'll be able to maintain your strength. That's the one thing I've also found, which is um, which is really cool because anytime you have inactivity, you got to get some muscle atrophy. All right, but once that pain subsides, you can start adding the weight back in. It's pretty exciting. It means you're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. Now, I know I felt soreness before, but what happens if you're starting to do these exercises with this inflammation or the tendonitis and you feel a sharp pain? What should you
Yeah.
do?
All right. In that case, you just need to stop immediately because you
Okay.
need to determine, why it's so sharp. So that can signal that you may have a tear or something is torn in the general area, whether a ligament or tendon, something like that,
Okay.
or it could just be pinched. These tendons, ligaments, they lay in slots, and so if those slip out of the slots and they get pinched, it can cause pain. And that's a red flag that, hey, if you keep pushing it, something's going to tear or it's going to go bad. So
Hmm.
do that first. And so what we're really talking about here is when you're working through this, if it's a dull ache that can linger but it goes away, then that's just a mark of inflammation. Sharp pain is
Okay.
typically a mark of a tear or something is about to tear or something is pinched.
All right. So, what if you're feeling a pain as you're exercising at a certain point? Like, for example, if you're doing a shoulder press and you're about a third of the way up and all of a sudden you feel that pain. Um, how would you handle that?
So there's different things you can do there. You can obviously adjust your positioning of how you're doing the movement. The other thing you can do is just shorten the range of movement to work in that range that's not painful,
Okay.
and then continually, as you improve, kind of keep playing with the range of motion to see if it's getting any better. Because as it heals up, the range of motion will slowly get better and better. I've seen that happen a lot.
Hmm.
So you that way you don't keep aggravating the area, um, which can cause another setback. I mean, it'll just start flaring right back up.
A- absolutely. Um, how about the blood flow? I mean, when it comes to blood flow, it's important for the healing of the muscle, I guess, but you talk about the blood flow to certain areas. Exactly what does that do, Armin?
So what you're going to get with proper blood flow to the area is that helps the healing process. That brings the nutrients into your system, so it can help speed up the whole process of healing. So the protein and the fats and things that the body needs to do the repair work. That's what you're doing. You're getting it to the area that it needs it the most. And if you don't do anything, it can stay inflamed even longer
Right.
just by doing
Right.
inactivity. It's just like in the hospital when somebody does a surgery, they don't have them keep laying around. They get you up and moving again pretty quickly because that helps speed up the healing process.
Absolutely.
They used to let them just lay in the bed and
Right.
let that time take its toll, but that doesn't work.
Right. Right. Okay. So a lot of people like to warm up or stretch before they work out. What about that?
Okay, so when it comes to warming up and stretching, the way I like to do it, my warm up is just going to be heating the body up. So that's just doing some cardio or some moving exercises like jumping jacks, high knees, something like that to get the body heated up so the
Hmm.
tissues are going to be ready to do the work and you get more blood flow to the joints, you get more lubrication to the joints from the water and stuff. And then the stretching, to me, you want to do it after you're done because you
Right.
have the area with a good amount of blood flow in there. It's fairly pumped up, and so you want to be cautious with it and just kind of do like static hold stretches, or you can do moving dynamic stretches. But if you do a static hold, just try to hold for that range of motion that doesn't hurt, and then for like a 30 count, and then keep trying to extend it to make it, see if you can go further and further without it being hurting. So that's how I
Mm-hmm.
normally do it.
Okay. All right. Now, how long does it normally take to see some relief to this pain?
Well, it's going to vary from person to person, obviously, but usually, if you're with clients I work with, after several weeks, they're gonna see it start to improve, pretty rapidly. Then after that, it's just a matter of, again, nutrition, which we're going to talk about. That'll help speed up the process as well. But doing these slow controlled movements and doing them uh, not over without overdoing it with the resistance is the best way to go, and then it keeps improving.
Okay. Well, as we wrap up the segment, any final thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, the key thing is just to be patient with the process. I mean, and if you do that, and just like some people don't like doing the 10 count up, 10 count down, but and I was no different. But when I did
Right.
it, I was really surprised how much better I got week to week. And so typically on an injured area, I don't train it more than once a week, or absolutely no more than twice a week. But it depending on
Right.
how it feels. So once a week to make sure I get maximum recovery from it. And I was really surprised at how quick the response was.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things you don't want to do not do this. Do not work through the pain. That is not doing anything but making it worse. And some guys, they think they need to work through the pain because, like, when you play sports, you work through the pain. You play through the pain till the event's over, then work on healing. You don't do that with weight training. You're just going to create a lot more problems, and you're probably going to tear or something even worse by doing that.
Right.
That's what I would say.
Well, a lot of great information, Armin. And I encourage everybody, to take a look at NSP Nutrition. A lot of great supplements on there, all natural and very, a quality product to help you achieve all of your fitness goals. Also, you got some cool apparel. I mean, look at the shirts Armin and I have on. I have my Vince Garanda shirt on today. So, everybody check out the new shirts that are
Oh
on
yeah.
NSP. And stand by for a quick word from NSP Nutrition, and Armin and I will be right back.
Hey, and welcome back to the NSP Nutrition Show. I'm Armin Eckelbarger.
And I'm Frank Mills, and let's get into the topic of how does nutrition and supplementation affect joint pain? This is a pretty hot topic because there are tons of supplements out there that are advertised for joint pain. So let's start with nutrition first, though, Armin. What do you recommend?
Well, you got to stay away from high inflammatory foods. And so, what causes inflammation is sugar, too much sugar, unfortunately, especially with fructose, processed carbs. So, processed food is not going to help you at all.
Okay.
Peanuts are not good. So, you want to stay away from that. Processed oils like canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean oil, safflower oil. These oils, because of the way they're processed, are going to irritate your joints as well. So, there's not a
Okay.
lot of benefit of eating them, period, from a longevity standpoint. Now,
Gotcha.
another thing that's really important that people don't may not realize is drinking lots of water. This helps to cleanse the system. It keeps flushing these different things out of your system so that you don't any toxins and things like that. You're gonna get those out of your system constantly, and that's gonna help reduce inflammation. So you're flushing things, you're flushing, and then you're bringing in fresh nutrients. So it just keeps that cycle going.
Interesting. So are there certain foods that help you reduce inflammation?
Well, based on some of the science, they're saying that fatty type fish like salmon, tuna, uh, even sardines, as some examples. These are very good for inflammation. Now, also just taking omega-3 fish oil is another great one when we're talking about supplements. But fish, fish fat is good for you, pure and simple. So that's a good thing. Other things that are good are nuts. except for peanuts, and that's really not a
Hmm.
nut anyways. It's more of a root, but peanuts can help with that, especially almonds, which have some omega-3 in them as well. Walnuts are another good source. Then when you get into the oils, olive oil is very good, especially the virgin olive oil, and then peppers, bell peppers, chili peppers, avocados. These are great foods to help with inflammation, because they stay in the system and they help your hormones to get the nutrition they need too. So that's another reason for that. But those would be some really simple ones to start out with, and obviously you can look up more depending on your palate, what you like to eat.
Hmm. Hey, if you haven't tried sardines, you don't know what you're missing. I mean,
Yeah, they're actually pretty good.
they are. They're very, very good. I mean, for some reason, when you look at the can, they don't look very appetizing. When you open them up, you're not sure. But once you
Yeah,
start eating them, you'll be glad that you did. They're really tasty. So, all right. So,
they're
Armin,
really
what do we
really good
need?
for you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right. So, what do we need to know about anti-inflammatory meds like ibuprofen and other things that are out there on the market?
Well, that's one thing I'm a little more cautious about, because what I've learned working with a lot of clients, and even taking it myself, they'll jack up your liver enzymes, and that's really not what you want for long term strategy. Some people they'll take ibuprofen, you know,
Right.
months on end, and I highly recommend not doing that. So
Right.
you got to kind of stay away from those, ibuprofen and uh, acetaminophen and these different ones. You could use it very short term, but if you keep using them long term, it's going to start to affect your liver enzymes, and that's going to cause the doctor to say, "Hey, what's going on?" It's just not good for you.
Absolutely. Well, are there any options out there for the people that are taking ibuprofen right now?
So, from what I've learned, use it on myself because I had a low back problem for a little while. I had a client mention to me, "Hey, why don't you take Formula 303?" I'm like, "Okay." I mean, I was pretty skeptical. I mean, I really
Right. Right.
was. So, I looked it up. It's a valerian root extract. And so I decided to try it. And I was totally shocked. It worked so well. And the thing with Formula 303 with the valerian root in it and a couple of the herbs is it
Hmm.
doesn't jack up your liver enzymes.
Okay.
And you can take it like almost every 3 hours. So and I've got clients I've used it with, and they were also shocked by how well it worked. You can get
Hmm.
it, you can get it on Amazon or health food stores. It's very effective. It's fairly cheap, and it works. I highly
Hmm.
recommend that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I had somebody recommend to me too this stuff called, I think it was Curamin, and it's all
Curcumin, yeah,
natural.
yeah,
Yeah.
curcumin's good
Okay.
too. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, okay. Well, if all that fails, is a prescription out there that's available that is okay or safe?
Well, there are some. Before we get into that, there are some supplements that you can take on top of that to help with the
Oh,
joint
okay.
pain.
Okay.
And so for me, what I've learned trying different solutions, uh, the NSP does have a good one. It's called the Joint Relief Pro. And what you're looking for in these joint relief supplements is boswellia extract. That's really the key, because they're all gonna have glucosamine and chondroitin and all these other, that help with some cartilage effect kind of thing, but that's
Right.
kind of
Right.
minimal. But
Okay.
if you get the boswellia extract, and then with the NSP, it also has turmeric, which converts to curcumin with it, and plus some SMN is another supplement that's supposed to help with the joint lubrication area. So it's a good product to use. And so I'll use that, and you just take these until the pain goes away. Then you're good to go. You don't need to continue to take them.
Okay.
You just have a lot of inflammation. Then the other one, which is really effective, on top of that, is krill oil, Krill. And it's like fish oil, but krill has the xanthine in it. And this xanthine, it's what turns the birds pink when they eat it. Krill are like little shrimp-looking things,
Uh-huh.
so it turns flamingos and these other birds pink. And so, like when you take it, like for females, it can cause their urine to be a little pinkish color because of the way it
Hmm.
flushes. Very effective for your joints. And you can take that
Wow.
twice a
Okay.
day, and you can also take that with fish oil. Even though krill is a fish oil too, I usually take both, And you can do that on a maintenance program to keep your inflammation down all the time. What it also does is improve your cholesterol readings too. It'll change that by up to 30 points on your cholesterol.
Wow. Okay.
So, it's a really good way to go.
All right. So a lot of good supplementation options. So I kind of jumped the, I actually jumped the gun on the prescriptions there, but exactly what would be, some options out there as all else fails?
You got to kind of proceed with caution when you get to the prescription world, but I've
Mm-hmm.
had some clients that have benefited. The one that's pretty popular with the regular doctor is a cortisone shot, and that does help reduce inflammation at a pretty high level. But if you do not adjust what you're doing, what has happened is when that cortisone wears off, then the biggest problem you're going to have is that the pain comes right back. So that's
Right.
why you have to
Right.
adjust everything, because you don't feel the pain because you got the cortisol reducing the inflammation. So that's one
Okay.
option. That's a real popular option. It's always available at any medical office. Now the newer
Okay.
ones, as far as I'm concerned, these are newer, would be BPC 157 and then TB 500. And these are peptides. They're just amino acid combinations that have
Okay.
shown to really, help joint pain. So let me just kind of highlight, BPC 157. So BPC stands for Body Protective Compound. So that's what they named it. But
Okay.
it's a peptide chain that consists of 15 amino acids that has been researched and is shown to have high level of biological healing activity. So they have studies on this. All right, and it's derived from the protective protein found in the stomach. So you can use it orally, subcutaneously, intramuscularly, or intranasally. So you have a lot of ways you could apply this particular anti-inflammatory peptide. So,
Okay.
and then these aren't cheap, by the way, but it is,
I
of
bet.
course, it depends on where you get it at and the quality. But, they have found that it really heightens the types of different types of tissues from tendon, muscle, and the nervous system. It tends to really react well. So on top of that, like we talked about blood flow, it does increase blood flow to the injured site. So that's another thing you can do to really improve yourself there.
Okay. Okay. What about the other one that what
T,
was it?
T,
The
TB 500. That's not
TB
Tom Brady.
500.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
Tom. It's not Tom Brady 500 either. So this is another naturally occurring peptide. It's found in high concentrations in blood platelets.
Right.
But the TB 500 that you would use is a synthetically derived version that comes from the technical term the TB4. So what this does, it facilitates comparable healing and recovery by helping to build new blood vessels, muscle tissue fibers, blood cells, and facilitating cell migration. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty unique product. And so it also, they use it for wound healing. So that's another
Mm-hmm.
thing. So with both these,
Interesting.
even though these products are somewhat similar, you can also take them together to get a totally different combination. So if you had a really bad injury and and you're really hurting, this would probably be something that you want to consider if nothing else is working, because these aren't cheap and they typically require a medical
Mm-hmm.
professional.
Well, a lot of great information, Armin. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
Yeah, for me, I would start simple with nutrition, and then obviously use the supplements as needed to see if you can get the inflammation down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need to go the peptide route, just understand that you typically need a medical professional. It's not going to be cheap. Uh, you have to, if you want the best results, they typically want you to inject the area that the pain is at with these peptides. So whether you do one or the other. So you do need a good medical professional that can explain to you all the steps necessary if you end up going that route. But different people, it's an alternative. But what we're trying to do is cover these are the things you can do to get it under control. And once you get it under control, then use your diet so it doesn't continue to creep back up on you, and make sure you do your movements so that it doesn't aggravate it.
Absolutely. Well, Armin, a lot of great information. And if somebody has more questions that they would like to add on to these topics, just it's easy. All you have to do is go down into the comment section there on YouTube and add your
Right.
comment or question. Or you can email us at support@nspnutrition.com and we'll be able to elaborate. Or who knows, maybe we do a part two to this show because a lot of people have experienced this. And,
Oh yeah.
like I said, I was in inside the supplement store the other day and it's all natural. But when I got to joint pain relief, I mean, it was almost the entire aisle of supplements. So,
Yeah.
you know,
There's a
there,
lot.
there really is.
It's a big market. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Armin, again, thanks for all the information, man.
oh, no problem. Hopefully everybody got some good takeaways. There's a lot to know on this anyway, but we want to make sure we gave you some highlights, so some simple things you can start to do to start getting some, you know, some benefits.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, thanks for watching or listening to the NSP Nutrition Show. And join Armin and I next week for a brand new episode. And thanks again for watching.
Hey, thanks for checking out the NSP show. Go to nspnutrition.com where you can find a whole heap of resources to help you achieve stunning definition and eye-popping levels of muscularity. Don't forget you can save 10% on your first order by using the code NSP show at the checkout. Catch you next time.